Horror Lies.
Hey guys, Rob from Georgia here with you. I'm your Wednesday evening host here at BodyBags. It is week 403. It is a week before theme week. Compliments of Lonnie this time around, and we're going to be looking at guilty pleasures. Man, it's going to be fun to see what everyone in the group puts forth as their guilty pleasures. I know I'm just looking forward to the whole week, but there's a couple in the group that I'm sort of curious, Chris, Will. I'm curious to see what those guilty pleasures look like. That ought to be a lot of fun. But this week, man, it's random, and we're looking at, again, more Fulci. I think the last time we talked, it was Conquest. I think the last time was random. And but looking at his Western from 1975, For of the Apocalypse, from again 1975, a Blue Underground release on DVD, of course. And man, what a freaking movie, man! Unlike Conquest, which comes after that incredible run. Conquest was an Italian / Mexican production, right? And it just felt disjointed. It felt unpolished. It just felt like Fulci really just did not have much of he just could not get what he wanted, I don't think. And it's kind of messy, but it's fun. It has its moments, as we talked about. But this movie feels freaking polished. This movie, man, might be one of his better movies, I think, in terms of the character, the strength of the arc of the story, where we start off with them, in terms of where we end with them. Extremely tragic, especially in light of just their characters. We'll get into that. First time with Sergio Salvati, doing the cinematography, man, and it is beautiful. There are some sequences in here. Cemetery is ghost town that they wander into. We'll get into it. It's just, man, Fabio Frizzi's in this thing, man, as part of the trio that is bringing the composition and the laying out the soundtrack. Man, it's just the cinematography, just the writing, man. And I know Cassini, apparently Fulci was not a big fan of how he developed the story from this screenplay from a Bret Hart who wrote a lot of Westerns back in the day. He was not impressed, and so he was able to basically do an overhaul on the script. And what he finished off with, I think, is pretty dang impressive. Without having read the book or the original source material, it just feels polished. It just feels, man, from start to finish, man. There's intent, there's purpose, there's a design, there's Fulci, man, in this thing. And Salvati, man, just, the two will begin an incredible journey, I think, of 10 films, I think. But really at the heart of this really is it's the name, For of the Apocalypse. You got four main characters, and you're introduced to them very early on. I think the movie is 1873, Salt Flats, Utah, small little western town. But anyways, so the sheriff is is right on the eve of allowing basically a purge to take place. The sheriff is basically going to just stay in his little thing and keep his head down, and he's going to let a vigilante mob just basically clean house of all the evil doers, all the crime doers. But our cast, Fabio Testi, of course, playing Stubby, our cheating card player, he will be met just as he comes into town. He's going to have to see the sheriff, and as a result of Stubby has no idea what's about to go down. He's thrown in the jail cell for the night, and he's thrown in there with a wonderful, wonderful prostitute in Lynne, Frederick, just plays an incredible role here as Bunny. And Michael Pollard, remember Stucky from House of a Thousand Corpses? Well, he's here playing an alcoholic, just a mess of a man named Clem. And then Henry Baird, who plays Bud. He's our African-American character here. It's funny because I just reviewed Lifeboat, and Canada Lee in there was just absolutely phenomenal. Baird in this, man, as Bud, man, is freaking... His character is you can see with his character alone the places that Fulci is going to visit very short order. You know, he is this person who he's disconnected from society. He doesn't know who to trust. He can't develop. He seemingly can't develop relationships with people that are alive, but with those who are dead, it's a totally different story. And this lends itself to some really creepy moments later in. Plus, we get a nice, beautiful act of cannibalism, which will also foreshadow just a few years down the road, right? 1979, when zombie will just freaking break out. So a lot of hints in here with the cinematography, with Frizzy's attachment to this. The beginnings, man, the beginnings of this incredible run are being put into place. Of course, we got some Giallo movies coming, right? Woman in Lizard Skin and Don't Torture a Duckling, The Psychic. We got a few of those coming, but man, eventually, man, 79 is around the corner. And so anyways, so the Purge is allowed to commence, and our four principal characters are left in the cell all night, not really realizing until it really begins. You think, you know, they kind of get an idea what's going on, but they think they're still going to be killed in the morning. But ultimately, in the end, the sheriff just takes all of Stubby's money and basically gives the four wagon and says, get out of town and don't come back. And so begins the journey of these four misfits, really. And it doesn't take long before they all find something to lean into with one another as they share this really weird moment they've all sort of been thrown into. And they head out on a journey. And maybe the one interesting moment before things all go to freaking crap, they run into a group of Quakers, Christian group that are just traveling, looking for a place to settle down, and their paths cross, and it's how Fulci treated that. It was really, really interesting. Nowhere near the way he'll approach some of the subject matter, saying don't torture a duckling. But this was really, he really puts the Quakers in a really positive. In fact, anyone really wearing a religious cloth is put on into a very positive light, which is really, really, it helps with the contrast, especially with a character that's going to come in very quick. Just as they move on and continue their way, and the Quakers continue their way, we don't realize it, but their paths will intersect again. And another character will come into the mix. As the four find themselves at the edge of a river, they're celebrating Bunny's birthday as best as they can, and then suddenly, this guy by the name of Chaco forces himself upon the group, and from that point forward, man, he will unleash his own sense of just sadism and just his debauchery on the group, man. This man has no scruples. This man is the personification of evil. And in fact, I was thinking I was watching this, there's a lot of Otis in there, man. In fact, there's a lot of Devil's Rejects in there. And I was thinking it's just kind of like Rob Zombie, he'll get Pollard in there to play Stucky right in the House of Thousand. So he's familiar with this movie. He's familiar. And it's almost like he took the character of Chaco and he decided, you know what, I'm going to invert this character in a way that I'm going to leave the personification of evil there, but I'm going to cause people to root for my characters, unlike how Fulci set Chaco up to be the only irredeemable character in the entire film. And he is evil. The things he does to this group, these four, it's like, they just can't seem to catch a break their whole journey. And so a lot of things are going to happen. You just start to, they just start to fracture apart. Clem just can't go a second without alcohol, just because he's just so soaked to the gills with it. Bud just continues to basically deteriorate and become more disconnected. And you get this scene in this ghost town. Man, the cinematography, man, is just insane. It is really creepy moment. And ultimately, we're left with just Stubby and Bunny as they make a decision just to continue their journey on their own. Of course, by this point, they have fallen in love. And yet, there's one other major thing that's going to hit them. She's, of course, pregnant, and we're going to get to the point where she's going to have the baby. And so they run into this old reverend that Subby knew. He leads them off to this Alphaville, this little town up in the snow in the mountains. And these madmen reminded me of Alien 3, the penal colony, on Fury 161, where they basically divorce themselves of women and become just sterilized to any of that sort of stuff, right? And it really made me wonder how much influence Alien 3 was from Alphaville. And yet, they ultimately are overjoyed with the idea that life is coming into their community. They're going to see the birth of a baby, and thankfully it's a boy. And that is that whole scene too, man. The cinematography is quite insane. And then we head off to our climax. And but it is, man, I'm telling you, in the end, man, it really is quite quite a thing to see. And the other thing I was thinking about too, the music, the soundtrack, a lot of it is ballads that are just laid out in a way that really do help carry the story along. Maybe too much to the point, but it reminded me again of Rob Zombie and how he lays out songs. I mean, you think of Love Hurts by Nazareth and Halloween, or any of the songs. He allows songs to help tell the story, the narrative, and to carry the narrative along. In a genius freaking way, man. I think Rob Zombie does it. I mean, Freebird, really. I mean, even the opening film, Midnight Rider. Come on. I mean, just the way he knows how to lay them out. But so we see that in here too, and it is an amazing movie from start to finish, man. It just gets you start to thinking about a lot of things, man. And of course, the Gates of Hell trilogy are right around the corner. And man, what helped me to just kind of think my way through this a little bit, if you haven't gotten this yet, or you're a Fulci fan, Troy Howard's Splintered Visions, man. The chapter on For the Apocalypse was really freaking cool, but I cannot wait to really got this. I can't wait to really sink myself into it and really do some serious reading. But man, that is some absolutely good stuff there. So, week 403, hopefully I didn't go over my time. For the Apocalypse, Lucio Fulci, 1975, man. He's getting close to the Gialli. He's getting close to the gates of freaking hell, man. It's coming together, man. It's coming together. Man. We leave these things off always with Go Freaking Bills.
This is not a dream. Not a dream.